Okay, so you want to own a logistics company. Picture the appeal: steady demand, freight that never really stops moving, a business the modern economy cannot function without. But before any of that, you need to understand what you would actually be selling. Not trucks, not warehouses, not miles on a map. You'd be selling certainty. A customer doesn't pay for a truck ride. They pay for the guarantee that their product leaves on time, arrives on time, and shows up exactly as it left. Everything else in this business, the fleet, the drivers, the software, the buildings, exists purely to manufacture that guarantee at scale. Which raises the real question: if certainty is the product, what does it actually cost to produce it? The first number that gets most new owners is the cost of entry. A single new tractor and trailer can run well over $100,000 before it ever hauls a load. Add insurance, licensing, permits, and a compliance system just to operate legally across state lines. Then add fuel reserves, technology, and enough working capital to survive the first few months before invoices get paid. Owning one truck is expensive. Owning a company means multiplying that cost by every vehicle you add, before a single one of them has proven it can turn a profit. The barrier to entry isn't the idea. It's the capital required just to start testing whether the idea works. Now imagine that first truck finally earns its first job. A customer pays $10,000 to move a shipment across the country. It looks like $10,000 in profit. It isn't. Fuel, wages, maintenance, insurance, financing, tolls, and overhead all take a share before the owner sees anything. What's left, often, is a margin measured in single digits. This is the quiet truth of the industry. Trucking companies can move enormous volumes of freight and still keep only a few cents of every dollar that passes through them. Revenue is loud, margin is quiet, and margin is the number that actually decides whether the business survives. Margins stay thin, partly because of how freight gets priced. Much of it moves on what's called the spot market, where rates shift daily based on available trucks, available freight, fuel costs, and how badly a shipper needs something moved right now. A lane that pays well this month can pay poorly the next, without the company changing anything about how it operates. That volatility makes pricing power hard to hold on to. Customers can often find a cheaper truck within the hour. And when the product being sold is largely interchangeable, capacity for capacity, price becomes the easiest way to compete. Which is exactly why so many companies try to escape the spot market altogether. That escape usually comes through contracts. Instead of chasing daily rates, a company negotiates a fixed price with a shipper over months or years. Contracts trade upside for stability. The rate might be lower than a great week on the spot market, but it's guaranteed higher than a terrible one too. Trucks get scheduled in advance. Revenue becomes predictable. Planning becomes possible. The trade-off is dependence. A contract locks in stability, but it also locks the company to that customer's volume, that customer's terms, and that customer's willingness to renew. Stability, it turns out, always comes with strings attached. With one truck under contract, growth feels obvious. Add trucks, add contracts, add revenue. 10 trucks start needing dispatch and coordination. 100 trucks need routing software, fleet management, compliance staff, and layers of administration that didn't exist before. Scale can genuinely help. Larger fleets negotiate better fuel pricing, spread fixed costs across more revenue, and build denser routes with fewer wasted trips. But scale multiplies more than capability. It multiplies breakdowns, scheduling conflicts, driver turnover, and the sheer number of decisions that have to be made correctly every single day. Growth doesn't automatically make the company stronger. It just makes every existing problem bigger, faster. And scale exposes one problem almost immediately: the return trip. A truck loaded in Chicago and bound for Dallas earns real money. But if nothing needs to move from Dallas back to Chicago that week, the truck drives home anyway. An empty truck can still be moving, burning fuel, paying a driver, and adding mileage without earning any revenue at all. The truck is working, the economics are not. Route density and backhauls exist to solve exactly this problem, filling that return trip with paying freight instead of empty road. Get it right, and a fleet's profitability can shift dramatically without changing a single rate. Get it wrong, and the company can be constantly busy while quietly bleeding money. In logistics, time isn't just money. Time is capacity. Every idle hour, every empty mile, every truck waiting at a loading dock is capacity the company already paid for and didn't use. This is where technology earns its place. Routing software finds backhauls automatically. Dispatch platforms match trucks to loads in real time instead of over phone calls. Telematics track exactly where every vehicle is losing time. None of this changes what a truck can physically carry. It changes how much of that capacity actually gets used. In a business built on thin margins, that difference is often the whole gap between profit and loss. Technology also opened a second path entirely. Stop selling transportation as the only product. A company that once just moved a customer's freight can now offer to receive it, store it, pick and pack individual orders, and handle the returns when something comes back. That single customer relationship stops being one transaction and becomes a chain of them. Storage, fulfillment, packaging, delivery, returns processing. Each layer adds revenue without requiring an entirely new customer to acquire. It also does something subtler. A customer whose inventory lives inside your warehouse is far harder to replace with a cheaper competitor than a customer buying a single truck ride. Warehousing doesn't just add revenue, it adds distance between you and the next lowest bidder. Of course, more services and more trucks also mean more exposure. Accidents happen. Equipment breaks down at the worst possible moment. Weather shuts down entire corridors overnight. Regulations change with little warning, and a single serious incident can bring lawsuits that threaten the whole operation. Insurance absorbs some of this, but insurance itself becomes more expensive as the fleet grows and the claims history lengthens. Risk in this industry isn't a rare event sitting off in the distance. It's a constant, quiet cost baked into every mile driven, every warehouse staffed, and every contract signed. And risk isn't the only thing quietly draining resources. Timing is, too. A truck fills up with fuel on day 1. The driver gets paid around day 7. A maintenance bill lands by day 15. The shipment itself might not finish until day 30, and the customer, on standard terms, might not actually pay until day 45. The company was profitable the entire time, on paper, but it had to fund 6 weeks of costs before a single dollar of that revenue arrived. This gap is called working capital, and the unpaid invoices behind it are accounts receivable. The larger they grow, the more financing a company needs just to keep operating. Growth, in this business, can consume cash long before it produces any. That cash pressure gets far more dangerous when it's concentrated in just a few hands. Imagine a company where 3 customers account for most of its revenue. Lose one, and the company doesn't just lose a contract. It loses the volume that justified the trucks, the warehouse space, and the staff hired to serve it. Large customers also tend to know their leverage. They negotiate harder, demand better terms, and pay slower, precisely because the company can least afford to lose them. The bigger any single customer becomes, the more the company is quietly working for someone else's balance sheet. The way out of that dependence is differentiation. A company offering pure transportation is easy to compare and easy to underbid. Anyone can get freight quotes from 10 carriers in an afternoon. But a company that layers in warehousing, faster transit windows, specialized handling, or dedicated capacity for a specific industry becomes harder to replace with a cheaper option. It stops competing purely on price and starts competing on value the customer can't easily find elsewhere. Differentiation doesn't just protect margin, it protects the company from being at the mercy of its biggest customer. All of this, contracts, differentiation, cash discipline, exists for one real purpose: surviving the shocks that inevitably come. Fuel prices spike. A recession cuts freight volume overnight. A rate war breaks out as competitors slash prices to keep trucks moving. A key customer gets acquired and cancels the contract with 30 days notice. A company running on thin margins and thin cash reserves can be pushed out of business by any one of these alone. A company built with differentiated services, diversified customers, and disciplined cash management can absorb the same shock and keep operating. Resilience isn't a feature you add later, it's built into every decision made years before the shock arrives. And underneath every one of those decisions sits the single largest cost most owners underestimate: people. Driver wages are usually the biggest line item after fuel. But the real cost isn't just the paycheck. It's turnover, recruiting, training, and the constant search for qualified drivers in an industry that has struggled with shortages for years. A driver who quits mid-contract doesn't just leave a seat empty. They leave a truck sitting idle, a customer's freight unmoved, and a scramble to find a replacement before the relationship sours. Trucks don't drive themselves. Warehouses don't run themselves. Every efficiency this business chases eventually runs through the willingness of a person to show up and do the work reliably. That dependence on labor is exactly why the industry keeps investing in automation. Autonomous trucking, warehouse robotics, and artificial intelligence dispatching are no longer experiments. They're already reshaping parts of the network. None of it eliminates the need for people anytime soon. But it does something else. It shifts where the value in this business actually sits. The company that owns the software coordinating 100 trucks can matter more than the company that owns 40 of those trucks outright, which leads to a question most new owners never think to ask. What if the trucks aren't actually the asset? There are 2 fundamentally different ways to build this business. An asset-heavy company owns its trucks, trailers, and warehouses outright. That ownership brings direct control, but also enormous capital tied up before a single shipment moves, plus financing costs, depreciation, and the risk that expensive equipment sits idle. An asset-light company owns almost none of that. Instead, it coordinates capacity through independent carriers and partners, keeping far less capital at risk and far more flexibility to flex up or down with demand. Here's the uncomfortable question that follows. If the truck isn't what makes the money, and the warehouse isn't what makes the money, then what exactly are you paying 6 figures per vehicle to own? Wait, maybe the most valuable logistics company isn't the one with the most trucks. Some of the most profitable players in this entire industry own no trucks at all. Consider a customer who pays $5,000 to move a shipment. A freight broker finds a carrier willing to haul that same shipment for $4,500. The broker keeps the $500 difference before covering its own expenses. The broker never bought a truck, never hired a driver, never took on a single mile of depreciation, a single empty return trip, or a single maintenance bill. Its entire value comes from something you can't see on a balance sheet, knowing which carriers have available capacity, knowing which customers need it, and matching the two together faster and more reliably than anyone else can. No fleet, no warehouse, no fuel bill, just information, relationships, and timing, monetized directly. Which means the broker isn't really in the trucking business at all. It's in the certainty business, the same product this entire documentary started with, just without any of the equipment required to provide it. And the broker's real advantage compounds the longer it operates. Every shipment booked teaches the broker something. Which carriers are reliable? Which lanes run tight on capacity? Which customers ship consistently enough to plan around? That information becomes a network, and networks behave differently than trucks do. A truck depreciates every year you own it. A network appreciates every year you use it. More carriers in the network means more available capacity. More capacity means faster matches for customers. Faster matches attract more customers. More customers attract more carriers looking for freight. Each side makes the other side more valuable, without the company ever buying another vehicle. This is what 100 trucks sitting in a yard can never fully replicate. A fleet is a fixed number of assets. A network is a living system that gets stronger the more it's used. The truck was never the moat, the network was. Which brings the economics full circle. An asset-heavy fleet might generate enormous revenue while carrying enormous fixed costs, financing, depreciation, insurance, on every single truck, whether or not that truck is fully utilized this month. An asset-light network generates revenue with almost none of that fixed burden. Its biggest cost is the relationships it takes years to build, not the equipment depreciating in a lot. That's why a broker moving a fraction of the freight volume of a major fleet can often post a healthier margin. Less capital at risk, less exposure to empty miles, fuel spikes, and driver turnover. More of every dollar earned actually reaching the bottom line. The most valuable logistics company was never the one with the most trucks. None of this makes any single model immune to collapse. Failure often begins long before the trucks stop moving. It begins when margins get too thin to absorb a bad month. When one customer becomes too large to lose. When cash gets consumed by growth faster than it gets replaced. When a fleet expands past the point its systems can actually coordinate. When a network stops investing in the relationships that made it valuable in the first place. By the time trucks are actually parked and drivers are actually let go, the real failure happened months earlier, quietly, in a spreadsheet nobody was watching closely enough. The companies that last aren't the ones that avoid every risk. They're the ones that see the spreadsheet before it becomes the parking lot. So, back to that $10,000 shipment from the beginning. By now you can see exactly where it goes. A share to fuel, a share to wages, a share to maintenance, insurance, financing, warehousing, and overhead. What's left is the reward, not for owning the truck, but for coordinating everything that made the trip possible in the first place. Can owning a logistics company make you rich? Yes, but rarely because you own the most equipment. It happens when capacity stays utilized, cash keeps moving, customers stay diversified, and relationships compound instead of depreciate. A logistics company doesn't make money by moving things from one place to another. It makes money by making that movement worth more than what it costs to provide, and by building something more valuable than the trucks required to start it. If you want to see how the next hidden industry actually makes its money, stay subscribed.